Verse 2. At the beginning of the universe there was no name, and the creation of names is the start of all things. Modern science believes that our universe began with the Big Bang, and before that, the universe was a highly condensed hot spot. Most elementary particles, such as electrons, photons, neutrinos, etc., are produced from this point after the explosion. The elementary particles then interacted and aggregated with each other to form nuclei, atoms, and molecules. Then some substances were further formed. Those substances had further evolved to form the various forms of visible physical entities that make up the world. The 1,000-character text says that the situation at the beginning of the world was, the sky and the earth were dark and yellow, and the universe was a vast desert. The general idea is that the color of the sky was black, and the color of the earth was yellow. The entire world was in a barren state. At this time, not only were there no human beings, but there were also no living things. There was no land or sea, no light, and no clearly discernible matter. What we could see at that time sounded like the foggy weather we encountered in the countryside. In foggy weather, tiny water droplets are floating in the air, the earth is surrounded by thick white blankets, the sun in the sky, the clouds, and the surrounding buildings all become invisible. All we can see is a thick white mist. The initial state of heaven and earth was chaos, there was no name, and there was no specific thing. This is the meaning of, at the beginning of the universe there was no name, in the text. So how did the world begin? There has always been a debate on this issue. Did the specific substance come first, or did the name or concept of the substance come first? This is just like the chicken or the egg controversy, each has its own supporting arguments. From the point of view of common sense, the name is originally a virtual abstract idea. How can it give birth to a concrete entity? This seems a little puzzling. Let us look at a person Liu Bei in the Three Kingdoms. Liu Bei was originally just a handicraftsman who made straw mats and sold shoes, but by virtue of his royal status, he could become the leader of one of the 3 states in China under the right time and environment. So, the virtual thing became the real thing. With the seemingly virtual status, resources can be gathered to form a system and become a real thing. We know that building a house or manufacturing an airplane requires a blueprint and a design drawing, so that the corresponding physical objects can be put together according to the design. Even if sometimes there are no actual drawings, there must be an overall design image in the mind of the builders, so that qualified products can be built. If there is no design idea, no preset blueprint, everything is just at will, then nothing can be produced. Even if sometimes we are just doing some random trials and experiments, and then make some kind of discovery that seems to be accidental, it is the result of our subconscious thinking. For example, it is often said that Newton was hit on the head by an apple, so he discovered the law of universal gravity. This saying is in fact an exaggeration. The law of universal gravitation is the result of Newton's long-time thinking and argumentation. Being hit on the head by an apple just triggered his inspiration, caused him to go one step further. Therefore, all human civilizations seem to start from some ideas and inspirations, which then were made into reality. In the same way, not only the origins of specific things, such as buildings and airplanes, created by human beings start from the concept in people's minds, but things in nature, such as mountains and rivers, should also be the realization of concepts in some way. It is hard for us to imagine that the wonderful world we live in is the result of randomness. If we pick up an exquisitely crafted watch or cell phone in the desert, we will know that it must have been placed there by somebody, because the wind, sun, and the flow of sand in the desert cannot naturally form some precision instrument such as a watch. In this world, many things are thousands of times more complex and precise than a watch, such as the composition of atoms and molecules, the interaction of the Earth's ecosystem, the composition and coordination of biological cells and body organs, human thinking ability, and so on. How can nature itself form these subtle and complex things by itself? Therefore, our world should also have been built according to certain design blueprints and concepts. Of course, it is not human beings who design this world, but a higher level of thinking than human beings. In Chinese culture, it is called the Creator, and in Western culture, it is God. The Creator created the world according to His own blueprint. There is a detailed description of how the world came into being in the book of Genesis, in the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. The earth is a void and chaos. The Spirit of God moves on the water. God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good and separated the light from the darkness. God said that there should be air between the waters to divide the water into upper and lower. God created air, separating the water below the air from the water above the air. God said that the waters of the world should gather and expose the land, and that is how it happened. In the same way, God created the grass, the vegetables, the trees, the fish in the water, the birds in the air, the beasts and insects on the earth, and human. People may have a question here. Modern science and archaeology have proved that the age of the earth is more than 4.5 billion years, and all kinds of creatures on the earth have undergone a long evolutionary process. There are at least thousands of years in human history. And according to Genesis, God created the world in just 6 days, which is an enormous difference in timing. Perhaps we can understand this question in this way: God's measurement method to time is different from humans' time measurement. What people call a day is the time when the earth rotates once, and at the beginning of the universe, light was not created, let alone the earth. How can the earth's rotation be used as a time unit? Therefore, due to the different time measurement systems, there is no contradiction between the two regarding the length of time. From another perspective, time is only a relative concept. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, both time and space are curved and variable, and time in different spacetime cannot be directly compared. So maybe we can think that the meaning of this verse is that the language of God came before all things. Name came first, and then the substance came into being. God's words carry power, and by what God says, the energy and matter of the world will follow closely. All things are born from this.